Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Gerald's House of Pumps 100 at Sebring International Raceway. Tonight's round of the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series. I'm Zach Evans, joined tonight by William White. William, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Uh, I'm fantastic. I'm really thrilled. I'm not trying to tackle this incredibly challenging road course these guys have tonight. Definitely going to be a very interesting race, I think, with these primarily oval drivers tackling the very challenging, very treacherous Sebring International Raceway as Robert Hill punches into buttons to fly us into Sebring. There you get the overhead look at this 17 turn circuit. Historic venue in sports car racing, but not exactly a place you think about in the stock car world. But sure enough, we'll be going around it 28 times tonight with the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series.
Yeah, obviously all 17 of these turns are going to create a very unique challenge for these drivers as we see tonight's race format, 28 laps, as you mentioned. The halfway point will fall at the end of lap 14. These guys will have 4 sets of tyres should the unlikely event of a safety car restart happen. But likelihood is that there will be just one green flag pit stop somewhere near that halfway point for these guys as you now see our Stay Tuned Sports starting grid for tonight's race.
Looking at the starting lineup, front row, Tyler Fody, Ethan Stanley, and you can see the drop off between second and third. Chase Cabry 1.4 seconds off of Tyler Fody's pole time. He's third, Chad Frankenfield's fourth, Gerald Campbell fifth, Gavin Hibbs sixth, Dylan Javier seventh, Leighton Norgard eighth, Caleb Pecumer ninth, Thomas Coonan rounding out the top 10, row 6 of Seth Rawls and Joe Francis. Moving on to
13th will...
Go for
it.
Go? No,
okay,
go.
In 13th will be Frank 30 in the 41 car, alongside him will be Jesse Racimus in the 70. Jake Scarborough and Matthew Bayek will make up an all-shift esports row 8. Michael Harsack will be our leading international driver in 17th, and Andrew Harcast will be in 18th. David Carpenter and Andrew Rucker will round out the top 20.
Rounding out our field of 28 drivers, Raymond Hanneman, the Daytona winner, 21st. Mitch Javier, 22nd. Cody McCorkle, 23rd. Dustin Dewar, 24th. Michael Klein and Sam Boutwell, 25th and 26th. And all Wally Racing, row 13. Vincent Isabel and Josh Freed starting 27th and 28th. Neither of those drivers logged a lap time during the 10-minute qualifying session.
We're just hearing that Chase Cabry, who qualified P3, has not taken the grid.
Indeed.
Which will, I believe, promote Jesse Racimus up to third place. It will promote all of those guys that are starting in the left-hand lane up a couple of positions as a result of Chase not taking the grid. So that will definitely play into the hands of those guys starting on the left-hand lane. Obviously, they'll have the advantage going into turn 1, being an inside corner. So we could see guys like Racimus maybe fighting the likes of Ethan Stanley for that second place spot. So that'll be interesting to see. Maybe Chase Cabry's electing to start from the pits as a kind of safety precaution. Maybe he's predicting some turn 1, lap 1 carnage at the beginning of this one.
As you see the field making its way around Sebring for this pace lap. We go on board here with Tyler Fody ever so briefly.
Yeah, it's a long pace lap. Obviously, it's north of 2 minutes at full speed in these things. So when you're behind our newly named safety car driver Fred, as confirmed by iRacing, it can get kind of long. I'm sure these guys are itching to get going. We see our Lake Norman boys who are only 3/10 apart and over a clear, respectively, or over a second clear, respectively, of the entire field. So I think it's no surprise if we'll see them kind of set off into the sunset. Speaking of which, they're getting fairly close to the last corner, Sunset Bend. They're just going through the Le Mans complex now. That's turns 13, I believe it's 14 to 16. That is near the end of the lap. So Fred, our safety car driver, hasn't got much more leading to do. I'll hand the reins over to the Lake Norman boys at the front of the field. We can get this race going.
It appears there must be some kind of issue with Chase Cabre. He is now showing he has left the session. We will see if he's able to get back and at least make some laps. Tough break for our winner last week at Milwaukee. All the same, had a good qualifying effort, but obviously something is keeping him from starting this race as scheduled.
Yeah, unfortunately for Chase, this isn't the first time we've seen him have power or internet problems. We saw him disconnect from the lead at Road America in the Pit Pass Network ARC series, very much kind of giving that win to Aleti Norgard. So another tough break for Chase, but we're coming through Sunset Bend now. Tyler Fote, your pole sitter, Ethan Stanley in second place on the grid. They're your front row. The Lake Norman boys are going to take the green flag in about 10 seconds here.
For probably the last time tonight, we take one last look at Fred, the pace car driver. Barney, the flagman, waves the green flag, and we are underway here at Sebring in the Gerald's House of Bumps 100. Tyler Fote immediately jumping out, breaking away. Ethan Stanley in tow as he goes through the first corner.
Yeah, we saw Tyler Fote go to a pretty decent getaway there. Ethan Stanley managed to fall behind Tyler Fote. Jesse Racines had a little look into turn one, but no issues thus far. Tyler Fote remains in the lead with the chasing pack falling behind him. Stanley, Campbell, Frankenfield and Hibbs running out of top five. As we get onto the first long straight of this very long racetrack, we're heading into the turn 7 hairpin for the first time. Does Ethan Stanley have the gall to make a dive on lap 1? He does have a look, maybe trying to psych his teammate out, but he's going to keep in line for the time being. All the while, these two pull away from the rest of the field. Ethan Stanley has nearly a 1 second gap on Gerald Campbell already as they head now towards turn 10 Cunningham. Another decent passing opportunity for these guys. But Tyler Fote and Ethan Stanley setting the early pace.
It's safe to say from qualifying, these two are the favorites tonight. Tyler Fote, of course, a former road course winner here in the Truck Series at Daytona. Amazingly enough, Ethan Stanley hasn't won our road course in the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series, but also he hasn't raced in this series since, as far as I can tell, the 2022 B season when he was still competing full-time in the Truck Series. So definitely dropping in for this road course race, looking to add that win to his resume here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Ethan Stanley is not a road course winner in the Truck Series, but he's certainly a road course winner in the Cup and Grand National Series. We've seen some absolutely dominant displays from Ethan, sometimes winning races with a deficit of nearly 30 seconds, sometimes even more. Montreal and Chicago are two races that immediately come to mind in that regard. But Tyler Fote is the one leading so far, not Ethan Stanley, although Ethan Stanley less than half a second behind his teammate and boss. As we ride on board here with the 64 there of Andrew Rucker's got Jake Scarborough. Right behind him is Seth Rawls there in the 10 car. Disappears. Go on the Mark Robalis photo replay here. We see smoke coming out of the number 10 car as he crawls through the Le Mans complex.
Was that a money shift? Or did he hit something? No, I think he must have hit something really hard. Because this is smoking for a long time. How far back? Nobody knows. There, and that's where the long lap really hurts you, because
this is right into lap 1.
Oh,
just off the nose of Aleti Norgard, right into the tyre barrier. Not much Aleti could do. Very much an innocent part in that one, but super unfortunate for Seth Rawls. His day is all but done, as that number 10 truck looks to be pretty much out of commission for the night.
Definitely. As we look at some of the other battles throughout the field, looking at Andrew Rucker now, who is all kinds of out of shape right now, but he is running in the 13th position after starting 20th, so one of the early risers in the field at the moment in that number 64 truck, as he makes his way through, I guess, the eastern portion of the racetrack. Look at that handy-dandy track map.
Yeah, we can see where all our gladiators are in their respective positions on the racetrack. We see Jesse Racines really piling on the pressure. So that wasn't Jesse Racines up in third place. That was Gerald Campbell, I beg your pardon. The 0 and the 17 looked very similar from where I was, but Yeah, no, Gerald Campbell running well, but Jesse Racine is very much piling on the pressure on the number 64 car. See 92 around. That's one of the Shift Esports cars. I think, is that Gavin Hibbs? That is Gavin Hibbs. From the top 10, he spins out at the end of the Le Mans complex. The Mark Robalis instant replay will tell all. He's running around the middle of the top 10. And we see on the exit of the Le Mans complex, things gets a bit too trigger happy. And around she goes.
A little bit too, especially on that curb, looked like he got a little too much curb, and then he was on the throttle when he was aggressively attacking that curb, and it just really upset the truck there on corner exit.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Sebring first and foremost a sports car track. So Chad Frankenfield tried to put the bumper to Gerald Campbell there for third place. Very early doors in this race, but I think these higher curves that the sports cars can definitely attack these trucks, and not so much for Chad Frankenfield. Blink out as he goes for a move on Gerald Campbell. Where's he gone? There he is. They're side by side.
Oh,
Frankenfield continues to blink out, but they're side by side. They've kept it clean. The 00 and the 15 fighting for the final step of the podium on lap 3. But Gerald Campbell's going to hang firm. Frankenfield's going to keep looking to the inside.
Shoots it up the inside.
Campbell going to try and go for a switchback out of Cunningham corner. Frankenfield, though, will have the inside line through turns 11 and 12. Campbell keeps his nose in. Into turn 13 we go. Another good passing opportunity. Campbell's going to take it back. A defending masterclass there from the 00. He's going to stay in third place. Chad Frankenfield's going to have to try again if he wants that final podium spot.
Certainly, you know, with those two drivers, the aggression is always on the menu. Lots of punches thrown there as they make their way through lap 3, heading back down through, Bishop Bend and further down as we get closer to the Le Mans section of the racetrack. But no doubt lots of excitement from those two early on. We now look at, I believe that's Dave Carpenter moving up a spot around Cody McCorkle. That's 19th and 20th, as you see on the scoring pylon on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it seemed like a pretty tidy move there from David Carpenter. Very gutsy through the high-speed lefts of 11 and 12. All the while, though, Tyler Foti, while him and Ethan Stanley are very much kind of broken free of the rest of the pack, Ethan Stanley is not giving Tyler Foti much breathing room. The gap has not faltered. 3, 4, 5 tenths of a second pretty much this entire race. We see Ethan Stanley get really close in the braking zones. He seems much more confident with his left foot, but that might have just compromised him a little bit through the tight, twisty complex. Didn't quite give him an optimum line. Tyler Foti now 6 tenths of a second ahead and growing. Maybe just a little bit more breathing room is all that the 7-time champ needed, but Ethan Stanley's still hot on his heels.
One thing that's a little bit different with the Truck Series compared to the Cup Series on Wednesday night, we've seen in those Cup Series races, tires are kind of an afterthought. You can really abuse the tires on the next-gen Cup car on iRacing, whereas in this truck and the Xfinity car on Monday nights in the Grand National Series, you really do have to manage those over the course of a run. Of course, I say that, and we go back to looking at Gerald Campbell and Chad Frankenfield side by side once again in that battle for the third spot. And at 57, Dylan Javier watching patiently to see if he could stick his nose into this as well.
Yeah, this fight between Campbell and Frankenfield has very much slowed both of them down. Dylan Javier, obviously a brilliant driver on the road courses, as we saw in the Pit Pass Network ARCA Series at Road America, scored a podium finish, I believe, if I remember rightly, and he's right on the tail of 2 former elite champions. They know how to race aggressively. They know how to race hard. So it's going to be no easy task for Dylan Javier to try and work his way past the both of them, Gerald Campbell and Chad Frankenfield, giving it absolutely everything to keep that third place for themselves. Both of them piling on a lot of pressure on that 00, but the 00 hangs strong for now with 25 to go.
And for these guys, let's be honest, they're looking at this almost like the GT class win if this were the 12 hours of Sebring, right? They understand, barring catastrophe, they're probably not catching Tyler Foti and Ethan Stanley. But if they can get the bragging rights of beating everyone else and getting that third spot, and a good points night to boot. As we look at this, is Josh Freed off track.
Yeah, seems to have had a little off-track excursion near turn 16, but no harm, no foul for the 25 machine. And cutting back to the lead, though, as we come out of the little twisty-turny complex of Sector 1, Ethan Stanley is about 0.3 of a second closer than he was last time around. Now 2.5 tenths. He's really piling on the pressure on Tyler Foti. Into the hairpin we go on lap number 5. Tyler Foti's going to have to soak up a lot of pressure here to keep Ethan Stanley behind him. The 91 car, as we know, extremely proficient on the road courses. Ethan Stanley, one of the most talented road course racers that I think anyone has ever seen on iRacing. But Tyler Foti, a 7-time elite champion, will not falter easily. It's going to be an absolute mountains climb for Ethan Stanley to get past that man.
Now Chad Frankenfield taking another look at Gerald Campbell. Boy, that's tight. But it looks like Gerald Campbell's going to hang on for now and maintain that third spot. Rest assured that battle is far from over, though.
Absolutely, that's the third lap in a row. Chad Frankenfield's got the exit out of the hairpin. He's gone for the move going into Cunningham. He thinks that he's faster than Gerald Campbell, and he certainly looks it. He is piling on the pressure on that 0. He's got an awesome shot there of these guys going through Le Mans for the 5th time. Chad Frankenfield, though, is only going to get more aggressive as this race goes on, and it's still only early doors. So, as of right now, this is certainly the battle to watch, as well as the battle for the lead between Tyler Foti and Ethan Stanley.
There we look. Yep, as they make their way through Sunset Bend, that long, treacherous, bumpy right-hander, and back onto the pit straight. Tyler Foti still leading the way, about a half-second advantage as they pass the start-finish line this time. Ethan made up a lot of ground on corner entry, but lost that and more on the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, Ethan Stanley looks to just overdrive turn 1 there just a little bit. I'll have to be very careful. Turn 1 is one of the most bumpiest parts of Sebring. Obviously a track that is bumpy pretty much everywhere, but especially so at the last and first corners. So Ethan Stanley really has to kind of recuperate now. So he's lost about 0.4 of a second to where he was this time around last lap. He just needs to make sure that he's not overdriving, he's not burning off the front tyres. He knows he's got the confidence in his left foot. He just needs to save it for when he's trying to make a move on Tyler Foti if he wants to lead this race.
Of course, you can't talk about Sebring without talking about those bumps. Of course, the long history of this venue, built on what was originally Hendricks Army Airfield. Now, the Sebring Regional Airport, still active. You know, it's literally airport runways in some parts of and airstrips, old airstrips on part of this circuit, and that's where those bumps really come into play.
Absolutely. We just saw briefly that Andrew Hardcastle makes his way into the top 20. Gerald Campbell, again, having to defend hard from Chad Frankenfield. Chad Frankenfield, it seems like every time they go through Cunningham Corner, he smells that drop of blood, and he's trying to get past the 00 aggressive soup machine of Gerald Campbell. Obviously, this race dubbed the Gerald's House of Bumps 100. He's certainly making this track his wheelhouse, even though he's got immense pressure from behind. He is holding on strong to that podium spot as of right now. But yeah.
Oh!
Big slap of oversteer there for Gerald Campbell.
He did well to hang on to it. He did hang on to it. Of course, there's probably not a lot of these guys that have raced this track on iRacing in this field. Gerald, I guarantee, is one of the few who has raced here in real life, and maybe that helping him just a little bit here.
Yeah, absolutely. We all know that iRacing has those hyper-realistic laser scan track technology. Every bump, every nook and cranny in the track is absolutely true to life. As Chad Frankenfield has another look into turn 1. Almost gets the bumpers. I think both of them tagged the inside wall there of turn 1. These guys are giving it everything.
You could see at the very least the sparks
in the braking zone.
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely see the sparks where they did brush that wall through turn 1, or at least you could see them from Gerald's truck from the perspective of Chad Frankenfield's camera.
think Gerald Campbell's very much putting that real-life experience at Sebring to good use. Obviously, he's usually quite proficient on the road courses. It's not often we see him in the podium places, but Dylan Javier completely overshoots the hairpin. He's going to go through the grass there. He's going to lose 5th place to Thomas Coonan. He's down to 8th now. Maybe 9th if Joe Francis can get past him. The 57 truck with a catastrophic mistake almost wipes out Chad Frankenfield and Gerald Campbell. Has to take to the grass to avoid that. Let's see it on the Robiles photo replay. Just completely outbrakes himself and was inches away from clattering Chad Frankenfield. Props for him on the fast reactions, but that's going to lose him a ton of spots. He's down to 9th now. Yeah, as we see, Ethan Stanley might have just abused his Goodyear tyres just a little bit. Tyler Foote now over 3 seconds ahead of Ethan Stanley. Tyler Foote very much putting that length of experience in the Elite Racing League to good use as we see that gap continue to grow and grow. Further behind him, Joe Campbell, 16 seconds behind Tyler Foote. These Lake Norman drivers have very much been the class of the field as Gavin Hibbs has his 2nd spin of the day. The 92 truck goes around again. Another high speed off. Gerald Campbell, Chad Frankenfield just coming out of Sunset Bend now. The gap seems to have grown a little bit, about half a second. So Gerald Campbell might have a little bit of breathing room now as they head into turn 1 with 21 laps to go.
As this field starts to settle out, William, what do you think we'll see in terms of pit strategy from these guys? Obviously, I think it should be, like you said in pre-race, a one-stop race, but do you think guys will try to split it pretty much down the middle, or do you think we're going to see some more aggressive overcutting or undercutting here?
I think it really depends on kind of who you are, kind of who you're racing, and kind of what your pace is. As you see, Gavin Hibbs stopped by the start-finish line. He tows his truck. I think he's done for the night. A very difficult evening for Gavin Hibbs. But yeah, I think tyre strategy can be very important in terms of how you take care of your tyres. We've seen Ethan Stanley be very aggressive at the start. Couldn't quite get past Tyler Foote, and I think his tyres are getting the better of him. As we see the two Andrews going side by side temporarily. Andrew Hardcastle is sent right into the tyre barrier almost. Rucker continues on. The Andrews lock horns there at turn 3. We'll see that on the instant replay. They bang doors out of turn 1. Into turn 2 we go. Rucker gets right into the back of Andrew Hardcastle. Almost into the tyre barrier there for the Texan, but Hardcastle will not be happy with that one.
Man, that could have, I mean, it was already pretty bad, but it could have gone so much worse for Andrew Hardcastle if he had not been able to get that truck woed up before he got into the tire barriers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was crucial for him to just stamp on the brakes to make sure he didn't hit anything. That way he can at least continue on, although I don't think his front tires are too happy now. It's probably like driving on 2 50-pence pieces at the front of your truck now. But yeah, like I was saying, the tyre strategy, it's going to be very interesting to see. Obviously, Ethan Stanley, not Tyre Stanley, who's that? Ethan Stanley was very aggressive at the beginning of this race, and now he's kind of falling back a little bit. Maybe he'll go for a kind of undercut to see if he can jump his teammate Tyler Foote. But someone like Tyler Foote, who's been more conservative and kind of calculated and has run away with it almost with a near 4-second lead, might try and stick it out with an overcut. So I think it really depends on the fuel mileage that these trucks can get, and kind of who these guys are racing and how they've been with their tyres thus far. As we see, Leighton Norgard went a little bit wide there through turn 1. He's going to concede that place to Caleb Pekuma, but not for long. Leighton Norgard has a look into turn 2, but to no avail. Caleb Pekuma in the 59 is up into 6th place. So Leighton Norgard is going to rue that one a little bit, but he's going to keep the pressure on into the hairpin. He'll have the slipstream, but these are NASCAR trucks. They're not very aerodynamic. So Leighton Norgard will not reap much reward from that one. Joe Francis enters the fray in that battle for 6th between Pekuma, Norgard, and Joe Francis. That's 6th through 8th.
Watching these guys battle. Don't get distracted. The battle for the lead may be a little bit separated at this point, but definitely still lots of fierce racing throughout the field as we continue to watch this battle. Oh, we've got a truck off track here. I believe that is Vincent Isabella, who has gone wide. He's worked his way back onto the racing surface just ahead of Cody McCorkle in the 2 truck, but it looks like he's got to give way to Cody as well.
I wonder if maybe Vincent Isabella had a little slowdown penalty from his little excursion there that he might have had to serve, which is why he conceded to Cody McCorkle there. We see Joe Francis in 8th place. We see 2 cars off. That's Dustin Dewar and Cody McCorkle, who we just saw a second ago passing Vincent Isabella.
So here we are looking from Dustin Dewar's perspective. Does he overshoot the hairpin? Yes. It's 2 separate incidents.
Cody McCorkle.
Wow.
Well, they both keep it going.
So it looks like they both kind of made the same mistake. Cody McCorkle following Dustin Dewar over the edge of the cliff.
Very interesting incident there, but they've both kept going. I don't think they've lost any position, so I think they both can just kind of pretend that never happened, as we see Michael Klein now off in the 06213simmo.com machine. He might have been involved in a little incident there with that truck behind him. Can't quite make out who that is. Mitch Havier. But now, with 59 of Pacuma, our current closest battler track, Leighton Norgard right on the back of Caleb Pacuma, trying to get that P6 back after his little mistake in turn 1. We see Thomas Coonan there, just in the distance. That's 5th place, so even more for these guys to fight for as they head into the hairpin with 19 laps to go. Does Norgard make a dive bomb move? Not quite close enough this time around. He does look, though, tries to sack Pacuma out.
Oh, no!
And Pacuma does. Norgard saves it. Might have overshot the turn just a little bit. Locked the rear slightly, but Leighton Norgard hangs on to it. He's got Joe Francis to worry about in his rear view mirror now, though. Will he look for a move into Cunningham? Not this time. Norgard hangs on to 7th place as he pursues the 59 of Caleb Pacuma.
And you know right now, at least until he gets a lap or so down, those rear tires are going to be so hot and so angry on a Leighton Norgard's truck after that slide. You know he's thinking about that while looking in the rearview mirror and seeing Joe Francis.
Oh, absolutely. He has to be really careful on corner exit now. Make sure not to lock the rears or spin them on the exit. But it's hard to do at such a twisty, turny, technical track like Sebring. A track like maybe Watkins Glen or Road America, where there's long straights where you can kind of cool the rear tyres down. You don't have such breathing room at Sebring. I think the Ullman Straight, just before the Sunset Bend's the longest straight we have, and it's not exceptionally long. You're kind of turning all the time. So all 4 tyres are working constantly. So when you overheat them, be it by locking the rears or you spin them on the exit, you're punished for it big time. And it leaves you really susceptible to getting overtaken because of how these stock cars work. Exit momentum is everything. So when you kind of kill those rear tyres, you are almost like a sitting duck on the straights. Speaking of straights, the start-finish straight is where we're going now, on board with the Leighton Norgard. He looks for a move into turn 1. He's down the inside of Caleb Pacuma. He's going to take 6th place, but Pacuma's looking for the switchback. He's right on the back of the 12. Will he look for a move into turn 2? Not quite this time. Leighton Norgard takes back 6th place here at Sebring.
What a move from a Leighton Norgard there to move back into the 6th position. And now they're going to try to run down Thomas Coonan in that 07 truck in the 5th spot.
Absolutely, but Pacuma's not done yet. He's looking to the inside of Leighton Norgard, trying to psych out the 12. Michael Klein goes around at the end of the Le Mans complex. Norgard hangs strong against Caleb Pacuma. Havier all out of shape out of the hairpin, but he hangs on to it. Dylan Havier, certainly an eventful night for him, as Francis and Pacuma are side by side. That's your battle for P7, the 35 and the 59. Into Cunningham, who breaks later. Joe Francis on the outside, Pacuma on the inside. It'll become the inside for Francis if they go for 11 and 12. Both of them still neck and neck going into Tower now. That's turn 13. Pacuma trying to stay ahead. Francis going to go off into the dirt. Bakuma squeezes him. Elbows out for P7. Brilliant racing here in the mid-pack.
You're definitely seeing those tires start to wear off, seeing the trucks dance, especially in those low-speed corners like the hairpin. But the racing getting more and more intense, everybody trying to get every spot they can before they come to pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ethan Stanley, we mentioned this earlier that we might see some undercut strategies. I think Ethan Stanley is pitted at the absolute earliest possible point where he'll have enough fuel to go to the end of this race. Ethan Stanley obviously very aggressive on his tyres. He's coming through the pits now. Into the box he comes. Doesn't overshoot. Nice clean stop for Ethan Stanley, but that means Gerald Campbell will inherit second place in the 00, and Chad Frankenfield moves up into third. That battle sort of died down a little bit. Campbell very much hanging on to that second place. It seems to kind of be a bit more tranquil now up at the front. But Rucker gets a little bit loose on the straight there. Hardcastle's going to get back past the man who he had contact with just a few laps ago. That's your fight for P18 as Ethan Stanley now exits pit road. He's got a fresh set of good years on. He's in 11th place. He needs a monster outlap and some qualifying laps from this point until Tyler Foti pits if he wants any chance of leading this race.
So I think back to the Grand National Series race at Zandvoort. There was pretty heavy tire fall off in that race. RC Enerson pulled the undercut. That ended up being the winning move on that night. Ethan Stanley's fastest lap so far today, a 2:10.53 seconds. His last lap before that pit stop was a 2:15.27. So definitely plenty of fall off here. He's going to be able to take advantage down the front side here with the undercut until Tyler Foti pits. Can he build enough of an advantage for it to pay off on the back end?
I think he definitely can. If we're seeing 5 seconds of lap fall off from the beginning of a stint to kind of the middle to end of a stint, because that was only 11 laps, 12 laps for Ethan Stanley, and it was 5 seconds of fall off. So I think we'll see more fall off from the rest of the field. So I think Ethan Stanley could very much reap the big rewards here if he has some qualifying laps from now up until the point where Tyler Foti pits. He might inherit the lead of this race.
Certainly the tricky part of that as well for Ethan, and he'll come up sooner rather than later. You're already seeing it. He has to negotiate these trucks that are on the older tires and frankly were a good deal slower than him even on equal footing. He's got to find a way on this tricky track to make those passes and not give up a whole lot of time in the process.
Yeah, I think this is the point in the race where Ethan Stanley's going to have to use his brilliant racecraft as we see Jesse Racines get a little squirrely as Andrew Hardcastle streaks in the wrong direction. That's unfortunate. He's down to 19th place now. Hopefully that didn't involve Andrew Rucker again. We see some visible damage there to the right rear of the 22 car. Hopefully that wasn't too big as they're coming into Cunningham now. It just drops it. So I think that right rear damage was from earlier. Rucker just squeezes past. As Jake Scarborough from 12th will pit now. Dave Carpenter will inherit that position. Meanwhile, Ethan Stanley gets past Frank Foti and Jesse Racines, and he now works his way past Dylan Hayveer into the hairpin. Hayveer unlikely to fight this too hard. Ethan Stanley on much superior tyres. He's up into 8th now. So he's managed to get pretty gutsy and managed to move past the slower traffic with pretty good efficiency. Tyler Foti leading by 21 seconds over Gerald Campbell and Chad Frankenfield. Those are your podium sitters. We'll see if Foti decides to respond in the next couple of laps to Ethan Stanley's undercut as Ethan Stanley now closes in on the 35 truck of Joe Francis. You see a little train up ahead. That's from Thomas Coonan down to Joe Francis. That's 4th through 7th. That's who Ethan Stanley has to navigate next. See the 07 truck leading that train through 11 and 12. Stanley gets past Joe Francis with relative ease. Next up on his list is Caleb Bakuma, a Lake Norman teammate. Foti to pit road. Now this could trigger a big chain reaction from the trailing pack. Obviously, with 20 seconds, we'll see if Gerald and Chad decide to follow suit or whether Gerald will look for a bonus point, obviously, for leading a lap. We come out of Sunset Bend. Gerald Campbell stays out, as does Chad Frankenfield, so they'll be 1 and 2 on the racetrack for the time being. Tyler Foe still scored the leader, such is the gulf of his gap he has in the rest of the field, but Thomas Coonan will inherit the final podium spot as Tyler Fote floors it out of his box. Ethan Stanley, through turn 1 we go. Tyler Fote is ahead of, Ethan Stanley's ahead of Tyler Fote for the net lead of this race. Now Tyler Fote has a mountain to climb. That's a big, big gap. 3 seconds or so between the Lake Norman boys.
And now let's see. Oh, there's Raymond Hanneman off track. Getting at the Mark J. Rebelus replay machine. Let's see what happened here. It looks like Hanneman locks up, gets loose right in front of Michael Klein there. And that was that contact.
Yeah, it seemed like a pretty hefty impact to the side of the Raymond Hanneman machine. Gerald Campbell, currently a race leader, pursuing him 2 seconds behind. That's the 15 of Chad Frankenfield, but crucially, 8 seconds behind. Ethan Stanley is in third with Tyler Fote, son of Frank Fote, in 4th place. That is your fight for the net lead now, about 2 seconds apart. You'd imagine if Tyler Fote manages to catch Ethan Stanley, that fight would be pretty feisty. As the late great Murray Walker once said, catching a driver is one thing, passing them is a whole different ballgame.
So one thing to remember here, they are working lap 14. So the leader at the end of this lap, which barring coming down pit road is probably going to be Gerald Campbell, would, and I say would, get that playoff point. Doesn't really matter for the top 2 since they're not racing for points.
That is very true. Obviously, both elite champions in the past, so they're not worried about bonus points too much. As your leader, Gerald Campbell, does come to pit road, Chad Frankenfield inherits the race lead, but Ethan Stanley's only 2 seconds behind him. Frankenfield is still yet to pit. Such is the pace of these Lake Norman guys. They have absolutely blitzed the field. Frankenfield overshoots turn 1 just a little bit. He's going to lose a couple tenths. Those tyres really not working with him at the moment. I think Chad Frankenfield's going to really play a big part in this fight for the net lead between Stanley and Fote. Whoever gets past him the easiest will have a big advantage in that fight for the win tonight.
Certainly Fote has the fresher tires and is already closing in on Ethan Stanley, but like you say, we've got a truck off here, can't quite make out who it is.
That's not Tom, he's in the pits, that's Mitchell Javier.
So we'll see, he gets back underway, but now we look back at this battle for the lead. Who can get around Chad Frankenfield? Ethan Stanley's taking the look. He's going to complete the pass. He's going to get out front. Now, how easily can Tyler Fote get around this Chad Frankenfield? This is a tough part of the track to do it, but he's got a lane here. If he can make it stick, I think he's going to be able to outbreak him here and clear him.
He does just that. Both Lake Norman guys able to get around Chad Frankenfield relatively easily. Now, the chase is on. 9/10 of a second between the race leaders with 14 laps to go. You would have to say, as it stands, Tyler Fote has the pace advantage. He has fresher tyres. He's been the faster truck all race long. Ethan Stanley pulled the undercut to get that track position, but Tyler Fote is going to absolutely put his foot through the floor to get back past him. As you see, Gerald Campbell and Leighton Orr, those are your 4th and 5th place drivers, just over 30 seconds off of the race lead. Meanwhile, Chad Frankenfield on a bit of an island. We'll see as he comes through Sunset Bend whether or not he pits this time, but we are at the halfway point. Does the number 15 kicking the tires machine elect to come down pit road this time? He does. One of the last to pit will be Chad Frankenfield. He'll pit from 3rd place. We'll see where he comes out relative to Gerald Campbell. But Ethan Stanley and Tyler Foti now just half a second apart as Tyler Foti gains big on the exit of turn 1 there. Ethan Stanley, we see the confidence again in the braking zones. That hurt him a little bit last time. His front's got a little bit worn out as we see 0.3 of a second. Tyler Foti's all over the back of him, applying some big pressure. We'll see if Tyler Foti can make a move into the hairpin here.
Watching as this battle for the lead continues on. Tyler Foti is able to draw right to the bumper of Ethan Stanley, but can't set up anything. There was somebody off track. Andrew Hardcastle again, the driver off track. He gets back going. We turn again to the battle for the lead. Here they go. Foti sticks it in there, but he's not gonna quite get enough of a run on corner exit as now they head down towards the tower turn.
Ethan Stanley gonna just stick ahead for the time being. The gap still 0.3 of a second. Tyler Foti itching to get past, absolutely chomping at the bit. He smells that drop of blood. He's really putting the pressure on Ethan Stanley now. As we head into Le Mans with 13 laps to go, the chase is absolutely on. We see Tyler Foti just taking that slightly different line. He seems a lot more calmer behind the wheel of that 40 truck with the wealth of experience that he has. Down the Ullman Straight we go. Ethan Stanley pulling up to the right. He's trying to break the slipstream. He's doing everything he can to keep Tyler Foti behind him. This will be an absolute dogfight as Ethan Stanley will scratch and claw and defend for all his might to keep the lead of this race for as long as he can, hopefully until the checkered flag.
Here they go. Oh, Ethan Stanley almost out of shape out of Sunset Bend. Hanging on to the lead for now, but you can tell he's having to fight just a little bit harder and a little bit harder every lap. Now they go through turn 1.
Tyler Foti again with a very good turn 1. He gains about 1/10.5 there through turn 1 alone. See if he shapes up a move into the turn 7 hairpin. Back on the power we go. We see the gap coming down all the time. 2.5 tenths and counting down. 0.2 of a second. Tyler Foti all over the back of Ethan Stanley. Does he go for a lunge? He doesn't. This time he does look to the inside. Ethan Stanley unfazed for the time being. But look from the back of Ethan Stanley's truck, right on his gearbox is Tyler Foti. Tyler Foti is not someone you want to be seeing filling up your rearview mirror. A 7-time champion. And he's going for the lunge into Cunningham. Will this be the move for the lead? He shovels contact! Foti's in the grass!
Foti in the grass. We'll take a look at the Mark J. Rebelus replay machine. But Ethan Stanley's got to have the lead for now. We take another look at it. He just barely contact there between Ethan Stanley and Tyler Foti. Foti getting the worst end of it.
Yeah, we see Stanley and Foti racing hard there. I would say Stanley definitely gave him racing room. Foti just tagged the right front of Stanley just a little bit. Obviously nothing intentional between the teammates, no less between, you and your boss. That wouldn't be ideal. But definitely not ideal for Tyler Foti, who now finds himself north of 2.5 seconds back of Ethan Stanley, who is now your race leader. But this is your battle for 8th. Thomas Coonan with Racimus and Javier behind. They round out your top 10. A big chunk of curb there from Thomas Coonan, but he remains in 8th place for the time being with Racimus and Javier in hot pursuit. Meanwhile, another Foti out on the track. He's in 11th. That's Frank Foti, Tyler Foti's dad. He's been running well behind these 3 gangle of cars that ran 8th, 9th, and 10th.
So, yes, let's while we've got a chance, let's take a quick break to pay some bills.
The NASCAR Cup Series returns to Worldwide Technology Raceway on June 1st and 2nd, 2024. The time to get your tickets is now. For only $10 down, you can lock in your seats for an incredible weekend of family fun, featuring the Enjoy Illinois 300 and the Confluence Music Festival. Racing, music, camping, it all adds up to one amazing party. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
You just heard from our friends at Worldwide Technology Raceway in Madison, Illinois, home to a 1.25-mile oval, 2-mile road course, quarter-mile drag strip, and a state-of-the-art karting facility known as the Kartplex. Check out Worldwide Technology Raceway today. And as you see on the side of the 91 of Ethan Stanley, Blue Egg Marketing is the marketing department for small businesses. Small business owners, Blue Egg is your biggest fan. And Zach and Will, now back to you guys up in the booth to close out this action with just over 11 laps to go.
Absolutely. Thanks to all of those sponsors. And of course, we've gotten plenty of looks at the Mark J. Reblis replay machine. Oh, Andrew Rucker off here. We might get another look at the Mark J. Reblis replay machine if that was interesting. I'll let Robert be the judge of that. Normally we'd see Mark out here racing, but he was a little busy down in Gainesville today. Rucker gets a little out of shape heading towards Le Mans there. Fortunately, lots and lots of pavement over there. Doesn't hit anything solid. Back underway. We look again, the leader, Ethan Stanley, sliding out of Sunset Bend. Tyler Fode makes up a ton of ground here. Obviously, the chase still on. We saw that attempted pass for the lead that ended in contact for Tyler Fode. He's already closed that gap back to 1.6 seconds. Can he get back to Ethan Stanley in these final 10 laps? And more importantly, like you discussed earlier, William, once you get there, can he pass him?
Well, I mean, around Sebring, I would say you've got a maximum of 5 passing opportunities, and we've seen them kind of all come into play in their respective parts of this race. You've got turn 1, you have the hairpin at turn 7. I would say Cunningham, Tower, and Sunset Bend are the rest of the corners where you can really make a solid move, barring a mistake from your rival. So I think those are the points where Tyler Fode really has to capitalize on a potential mistake from Ethan Stanley, or as we saw coming out of Sunset Bend, Ethan Stanley was setting his rears on fire. So as we see that gap come down to now south of 1 second in less than half a lap, Ethan Stanley might be overdriving that 91 truck. Tyler Fode seems very smooth and calculated behind the wheel of that number 40. So unless Ethan Stanley really starts to pick up the pace a little bit, maybe if if Tyler Fode has another off track, I think this might be a bit of a ticking time bomb for Ethan. He's going to have to really get his elbows out if he wants this. But another factor that might come into play is Dustin Dewar in the 32 truck. Obviously, he will be going a lap down when Ethan Stanley and Tyler Fode get to him. Very similarly to how Fode and Stanley had to get past Chad Frankenfield before Frankenfield pitted, they are now going to have to work their way past Dustin Dewar. And that could very much swing the balance in the favour of one of these guys. You could argue that this is kind of Fode's race to lose now, considering current pace and tyre conditions, but this could very much go in the favour of Ethan Stanley if Tyler Fode has a little bit of trouble getting past them, but it seems like Dustin Dewar will concede to both of them and not make either of their lives exceptionally difficult. Very sportsmanly from Dustin there. A big oversteer moment there from Ethan Stanley. Fode's going to look to the inside, but will not quite have the purchase for a move into turn 1 there. But Tyler Fode very much piling on the pressure now with less than 10 laps to go.
Tyler Fode clearly has the more stable, more precise truck through those high-speed sweeping corners like Sunset Bend, like turn number 1. That's where he's making up gobs of time with those fresher tires. Now we go towards one of those passing opportunities. You mentioned the hairpin. Is this a spot for Tyler Fode to try for the lead once more?
He does look to make a move, but he doesn't completely go for it. He just has a little look, tries to psych out Ethan Stanley. Ethan Stanley, again, unfazed, takes that corner absolutely beautifully and maintains that 0.3 of a second gap between him and Tyler Fode. They now head towards Cunningham for the 9th to last time. The time very much ticking down for these drivers. Obviously, Tyler Foote has very limited time to get past Ethan Stanley. He has to really, if it comes to it, he's going to have to get gutsy. If it gets to, like, 3, 2, 1 lap to go and he still sees that blue air car in his windshield, he might have to get the elbows out just a little bit if he wants to win this one. Because Ethan Stanley is very much under a ton of pressure right now.
I think if he slides through Sunset Bend like we've seen him slide the last couple of laps, Tyler Fode's going to have a great chance to take the lead this time. As they make their way down that long straightaway before Sunset Bend, we're going to find out what kind of corner Ethan Stanley can put together here. He takes the defensive line. I feel like that's asking a lot of those rear tires. He does eventually flare back to the outside, but we'll see here on corner exit.
Yeah, he just has to drive it easy. He's again sideways out of the corner. Those rear tires really not having fun. They're so close, millimeters apart, but Ethan Stanley's got the inside. Tyler Fode's going to have to go the long way around. Are we going to see a switchback maneuver on board with the 91 of Ethan Stanley? Now, with Tyler Foote, there is a little switchback. Can he get to the left rear wall? Ethan Stanley throw the block. Down the inside goes Tyler Foote into turn 2. Ethan Stanley going to try and hold on the outside. They're wheel to wheel, they're door to door through turns 2, 3, and 4, but Tyler Foote is going to take the lead for the time being. Ethan Stanley is not going to give up though. Will they go for a lunge into the turn 7 hairpin? The gap, a quarter of a second. He's going to have to get really gutsy if he wants to take the lead back. He's going to try and look, but he can't get there. Tyler Foote, your new race leader with 8 laps to go.
Tyler Foote pulling out all the stops. Turn 2 was not one of those passing areas you highlighted, William, but certainly the run through turn 1, the switchback maneuver, setting up that very difficult pass. Tyler Foote pulls it off. He's the new leader. I mean, hats off to him for pulling off that move.
Absolutely. I think Tyler Foote knew the superior grip that he had over Ethan Stanley. He could get through those technical bits through turns 2 till 6 just a lot better than Ethan Stanley could. As long as he was brave enough on the brakes to get door to door with Ethan through turn 2, which he was able to do. I think it was kind of, almost over for Ethan Stanley at that point. There was not a lot he could do. He tried to hang it out, and fair play to him. He gave it his absolute all. But I think, the tyre differential is just too much now for Ethan Stanley to overcome, as Tyler Foote's lead now amounts to almost a second out in front.
Looking now at the battle for 7th, that's Jesse Racimus in the 70 truck, Caleb Becumer behind him in the 59. Still lots to be decided further back in this field. Lots of points on the line, positions up for grabs.
Absolutely. We see 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 10th as well. So it's the bottom of the top 10, all roughly in the same bit of racetrack there. Obviously, these points all important for trying to get into those post-season playoffs. Obviously, they'll be in a few weeks' time, starting with the round of 14. While Ethan Stanley and Tyler Foote are very much writing the headlines out in front with Gerald Campbell in 3rd place. These guys like Leighton Norgard, Joe Francis, Jesse Racimus, who are in 5th, 6th, and 7th, they're going to get the big points benefits against their rivals. They're the guys who will shoot to the top of the standings as we cycle through the field now through the top 10. We see Racimus, Becumer, Javier now side by side with Thomas Kunin down the front straight. This will be an interesting battle to watch. This is for the final spot in the top 10. Kunin with the inside for turn 1, and he parks it. Dylan Javier can't quite get the switchback done. Will Javier go late on the brakes into turn 2? Not this time. Thomas Kunin takes 9th place from Dylan Javier once again.
Thomas Kunin moves up to the 9th position with that move. Putting together a strong little couple of weeks. Had that 6th place run last week at Milwaukee. in line for another top 10 finish here at Sebring. I mean, this is a really challenging part of the Truck Series schedule this season. Definitely a good time to start turning up the wick and start putting together those performances. Of course, next week they'll be on the half-mile tri-oval of Concord, and then you'll have Las Vegas after that before Slinger and VIR, 2 road courses this season for the trucks.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 road courses, not something we see very often on the Truck Series schedule. Usually we are at just the one at some point in the regular season, so obviously there's more chances for these road course ringers, as it were, to shine and really capitalize on these big opportunities to gain a ton of points on their rivals. And speaking of gaining, that's all Tyler Foty's been doing these last couple of laps. His advantage over Ethan Stanley. Well, Ethan Stanley eats into it big time on the entry of turn 1. He's going to lose it all and more. Just 3 seconds now is the gap between Foty and Stanley. I think Stanley's really pushing hard now. But maybe it's a little too hard to see Ethan Stanley through the grass. He's overdriving that 91 car a ton. He might have a slowdown from that one. Definitely a 1X for his troubles. I think Ethan Stanley might just have to give this one up. We see a battle for 13th. Bayuk leading this 3-car train with the Shift Esports 29 car, or 9 as it is on the scoreboard. Carpenter and Hossack in hot pursuit. We're now on board with Michael Hossack briefly there as we head through turns 11 and 12 into the Le Mans complex.
Matt Bayuk, a newer face for us this season in the Truck Series. I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've seen him this season, putting together a respectable showing so far in 13th.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Matthew Bayuk putting in some good performances in other leagues for Shift Esports, mainly in the Thursday night Oscar League that he also competes in. But this is the first time we're seeing him in Elite, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. He's put in a very solid performance, kind of sits 13th, a number that's unlucky for some, but definitely lucky for Matt Bayuk on his debut. Meanwhile, we are side by side for P9. Thomas Coonan manages to hang firm as Dylan Javier looks for a move at turn 7, but to no avail. That short battle for P9 and P10 as we head into Cunningham again. Thomas Coonan now ekes out a gap of about 1 second. Seems like he has that little bit of consistency in the street limit car. Over Javier's Harsack has a little look at David Carpenter in the 71 machine, that is, a big pardon. Matt Bayuk still holding strong in P13. This 3-car battle for P13.
Michael Hossack battling Carpenter. We look back to the leader, Tyler Foty, 6 seconds in front. Back to this battle between Carpenter and Hossack's out of shape. He did a great job there of locking up and avoiding contact with Dave Carpenter. Hats off to him for that, but obviously a ton of time lost there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Hossack did an amazing job there of damage limitation, as it were, stopping himself from hitting David Carpenter and kind of doing a little 360 at the bottom of the hairpin there. Style it out, pretend it never happened, head forward, and get back to P15 as of right now. This is your battle for P9, Thomas Coonan and Dylan Javier. Not pulling any punches between these two as they come out of Sunset Bend. Side by side now almost. Thomas Coonan will go slightly defensive. Dylan Javier on the outside. Will Dylan Javier look to back up the entry of 1? Or will he hang it around the outside? He looks to be hanging it around the outside. Does he have the purchase on that part of the racetrack? No. But Thomas Coonan's going to give him the racing room on the outside. They're side by side through turn 2. Thomas Coonan going to shut the door big time. Not going to allow Dylan Javier to have that switchback maneuver, but we'll see if Javier can get the run out of turn 5 into turn 6. Right on the back bumper of the 07 is Dylan Javier in that Chevrolet Silverado. Looks very nice and fluorescent pink and blue as P9 and P10 are side by side. Dylan Javier looking for a move around the outside of turn 7 as Coonan goes defensive. A switchback maneuver, again unsuccessful. Thomas Coonan doing a brilliant job at stopping those switchbacks, but now through turns 8 and 9, 2 fast sweeping flat out corners into turn 10 of Cunningham. Will Javier go for a dive bomb. He looks tries to psych out Thomas Kuhn. He does! Thomas Kuhn is around, saves it, but will concede P9 to Dylan Javier. Thomas Kuhn now with those rears all the way up, is all out of shape, squirreling around the racetrack. He's down to 10th. Dylan Javier with a sublime bit of racecraft. He's up into 9th.
I have to give some credit to Thomas Kuhn in here. I promise I say this in complimentary fashion. Between Milwaukee last week and some of the battles we've seen like that one, he is quickly proving himself to be a Ryan Newman type here in the Truck Series. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Makes you really earn every single pass on him. And boy, it took everything from that 57 truck to get by there.
Absolutely, which just makes the racecraft and the speed and the pace from the 57 all that more impressive. Thomas Kuhn did not make it easy for Dylan at all, and yet the 57 truck just managed to psych him out, force Kuhn into a mistake, take that P9. Meanwhile, the 29, the 71, 13th and 14th Carpenter looking to put some pressure on Matt Bayuk with just 4 laps to go. We've seen the action kind of die down a little around the rest of the racetrack, but for every single position and point, we are fighting hammer and tongs for those all-important playoff bursts. 13th and 14th, it's still an extremely important fight, having someone like Dave Carpenter, who is looking to get into the class for the first time in his career. He is trying to chase down Matt Bayuk and see if he can take P13.
Certainly Dave Carpenter, probably one of the guys who loves to hear there's 2 road courses on the schedule. Is he one of the quote-unquote ringers like a Tyler Fode or Ethan Stanley? No. But he definitely has a high comfort level on these road courses. Very rarely do you see him make a race-altering mistake at these races. He puts his head down, puts together a solid effort, keeps all 4 tires on the pavement, puts together a solid run. You're seeing that from him tonight. I'm sure you'll see it again in a couple of weeks at VIR as well.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys like Tyler Fode and Ethan Stanley, they shine on these road courses. As Tyler Fode now 10 seconds clear of the rest of the field. He's put on an absolutely dominant display, a fit of a 7-time champ. As we see a truck coming in with no nose into the pit lane, that is the 2-car, the Mountain Man Motorsport Chevrolet of Cody McCorkle, who seems to have had a pretty big off. Meanwhile, with just 3 laps to go, Tyler Fode, calculated as ever, through turns 3, 4, 5, and 6, will head out towards the hairpin for the 3rd to last time, trailing him by 10.5 seconds is his teammate Ethan Stanley. An absolutely brilliant road course racer in his own right, but seems to be coming up 2nd best this time. Completing your podium is a 0-0. The leading forward of Gerald Campbell, the aggressive suit machine, looking to take its first podium of the season, I believe. And the sponsor of this race, in the Gerald's House of Bumps 100. And he seems to be respecting the bumps pretty well. While he's 30 seconds off the lead, he still put a brilliant showing on in 3rd place, and just behind him is the 15, kicking the tires machine. That is Chad Frankenfield, also in a Ford F-150. And there's your leading Toyota, the Albert Motorsports number 12, a Leighton Norgard. Brilliant on the road courses, and he's shown it again today. 5th place for a Leighton, not bad at all. 6th, Joe Francis, the previous winner in this series as well. He won the Indianapolis 150 on the open wheel oval in week number 2. He's in 6th place. Jesse Racines, currently 2nd in points for the number 70. He's in P number 7. Caleb Akuma, another brilliant road course racer, part of the Lake Norman stable. He's in P8 as he goes through turn 7. And another Lake Norman road course ringer. They're producing them like a conveyor belt of something other. I don't know where I was going with that. But he's in P9 in the 57 machine. And rounding out the top 10, that's the 07 of Thomas Kuhn. And up 8 spots, he's in 15th position. Up 8 spots from P23, Dustin doing the 32 machine in the JD Till Top Salvage Chevrolet. He's got a brilliant performance. Gets a little bit squirrely on the straight coming out of Cunningham, but no harm, no foul.
You mentioned Jesse Racines as we look at Tyler Fode, but you mentioned Jesse Racines being 2nd in points coming into the night. Worth noting, of course, Chase Cabry never made it out on track. He was the points leader. I'm not a mathematician, but I know Chase Cabry already burned his drop week. He was not part of the field at Indianapolis. So Jesse Racimus probably going to take the points lead tonight with a strong run here.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, that's a big hit to Chase Cabry's playoff ambitions with 2 missed races now, essentially. So one of those drop weeks will come back as a big fat 0 on his tally. Very unfortunate for him, but Jesse Racimus seems to be an early contender for the regular season championship. Obviously, that will be huge for him because that will make him the number 1 seed in the playoffs and will make advancing to the championship 4 a lot easier as we see him navigate past Dustin Dewar there. He's very solidly holding on to P7. He's not someone we often tout as a road course expert, but he has shown his expertise and experience in plenty fashion today. He's still in P7. He's got 6 seconds behind him, 6 seconds in front of him. He's on a little bit of an island. He's just chilling out for these last 2 laps and taking up a solid point haul for this little operation that he's got going on. I'll see more shout-outs going on. Frank Foti, father of Tyler Foti, as we've mentioned, he's in 11th place in his home state of Florida. He has ran it supremely well. Obviously, fairly new to iRacing, introduced to it by his son. 12th place, Jake Scarborough, 52. Very much from the other side of the country. He's from California, but still holding on strong. The jet lag not getting to him whatsoever in that 52 machine. He is holding on beautifully. But now, Tyler Foti is going to come and take the white flag. Bunny the flag man has it in the air. 1 lap to go, and the Giles House of Bumps 100 for Tyler Foti, who has been indomitable all race long.
There you look at the gap. Ethan Stanley just now making his way out of Sunset Bend, more than 16 seconds behind his teammate Tyler Foti.
Yeah, Tyler Foti in those last kind of 6-7 laps has just pulled away a massive gap. Nearly 17 seconds now as he heads through turn 6. Ethan Stanley tried to make life hard for him. It was a brilliant undercut maneuver, and he was as much as 3 seconds ahead of Foti at one point. But Foti's had the pace, has had the consistency, and the long run speed to just blitz this entire field and make them all look like they're standing still. The gap still growing. It's north of 17 seconds. It's 30 seconds back to Gerald Campbell. Only the top 8 are within a minute of our leader. Such is the domination that Tyler Foti has shown. As you see, Gerald Campbell, he's in 3rd place. He will stand on top of the podium at the end of this race, but he is still 31 seconds adrift of our leader. And there you go, 1 minute and 20 seconds adrift. Is still in the top 10. Thomas Coonan just took the white flag. Meanwhile, Tyler Foti is absolutely miles ahead. He's heading into the Le Mans complex now. He's almost finished his final lap as some of the top 10 just start theirs. He's been absolutely miles clear of the entire field today. The 7-time champ very much showing his experience, one of the many dominant displays that he's shown throughout his entire illustrious career. In the Elite Racing League, he's only got 1 more corner to go before he has yet another win to a seemingly endless tally. Hits the brakes for one final time through Sunset Bend. He's been untouchable all race long. It'll be yet another win for Lake Norman, yet another win for Tyler Foti. He spins the tyres, and by nearly 20 seconds, Tyler Foti's going to win at Sebring.
What a performance by Tyler Foti, celebrating all the way down the pit straight. He knows he's picked up this win. Congratulations to him. Will now pick up Ethan Stanley, making his way through Sunset Bend. He'll take home the 2nd position. 1-2 finish for that team. Gerald Campbell, for the 2nd week in a row, will be finishing on the podium as he makes his way to the 3rd place finish. Now, Chad Frankenfield 4th, a Leighton Norgard 5th, as he's sideways. Boy, what a huge run for him. First top 10 of the season, and it's a 5th place finish. at Sebring. There you see Joe Francis across the line. Jesse Racimus, again, likely assuming the points lead after tonight. I was told there was no math, but I feel pretty good about that one. Caleb Pecumer's going to finish 8th. We fade back to Dylan Javier in the 57 truck, looking for his first top 10 finish of the season. He's been knocking on the door of it. Now he has it with a 9th place run. Thomas Kuhnen heading towards a second straight top 10 after his 6th place finish 1 week ago at Milwaukee. But there's your winner, Tyler Fode, on the cool down lap as we wrap up the Gerald's House of Bumps 100 here at Sebring. We'll take a quick break here. We'll be back to hear from your podium finishers here at Sebring.
The NASCAR Cup Series returns to Worldwide Technology Raceway on June 1st and 2nd, 2024. The time to get your tickets is now. For only $10 down, you can lock in your seats for an incredible weekend of family fun, featuring the Enjoy Illinois 300 and the Confluence Music Festival. Racing, music, camping, it all adds up to one amazing party. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Sebring. Tyler Fode celebrating with the donuts on the pit straight here at Sebring. He has picked up the win in the Gerald's House of Bumps 100. We take a look at the results. Tyler Fode, again, your winner. Ethan Stanley, 2nd. Gerald Campbell, 3rd. Chad Frankenfield, Leighton Norgard, rounding out the top 5. Joe Francis, 6th. Jesse Racimus, 7th. Caleb Pecumer, 8th. Dylan Javier, 9th. Thomas Kuhnen, 10th. Frank Fode, 11th. Jake Scarborough, 12th. Matthew Bayuk in 13th. David Carpenter, 14th. Michael Hossack, 15th.
Yeah, those finished off your lead lap runners. Dustin Dewar, Andrew Hardcastle, Raymond Hanneman finished P18 there. Those guys finished laps down. Tyler Fode nearly 20 seconds clear of the entire field. An absolutely untouchable display from our 7-time champ. As we see the rest of the field come on your screen now: Cody McCorkle, Andrew Rucker, Mitch Havier, Michael Klein, Vincent Isabella, Gavin Hibbs, Sam Boutwell, and Josh Freed conclude all the guys who took the grid for tonight's race at Sebring.
All right. I believe it's time to start talking to some drivers, and we'll start with Gerald Campbell's 2nd week in a row we've spoken with him. 3rd place finisher on home turf. Gerald has to feel pretty good to I could make the joke best in class. You were the highest finishing Ford. You were the highest finisher out of the guys that were really, just watching Ethan and Tyler sail into the sunset, but it has to feel almost as good as a win.
Yeah, I definitely, I only finished, 12 seconds back from Ethan Stanley. I mean, Leighton Norgard in 5th was 12 seconds back for me. So I'll take that. Most time we see Ethan Stanley win by like 50 seconds over the field. So to know I had pace, I put some laps here. I'm I feel like I got the best out of myself that I could possibly do. I don't think I could do anything compared to those guys up there. Me and Chad definitely battle for this third place. I earned getting to talk to you guys tonight.
No doubt about that. We definitely watched that battle, especially in the first half of the race. What do you think was the key in that battle with Chad to end up in the third place finish?
I knew I had to get out in front of Chad, just because he was going to be. I mean, he had very quick short runs pace and not great long run pace. It looked like in practice, and I know he didn't probably practice that as much as as I did. I felt like I did a lot of long run practice versus short run practice when by myself. I knew I had to get out in front of Chad, make him wear the stuff, but I didn't expect him to dive bomb some of the turns. It was my braking points were a lot earlier than Chad's, like about a car length earlier, and that would allow Chad to keep looking underneath me and keep making me miss my braking points. And I knew if I could just get a second in front of him, I could start growing that gap, trying to erase my own line without having to worry about Chad diving it in there. And every time he dive it in there, I had to drive on back through the outside, and it would mess up the next 5 turns. Sebring's a very much, you miss one turn, you're going to mess up like 5 or 6 turns after that. So I love Sebring here. Very tough track, and going to be going to the Sebring 12 hours for next week in live and go watch that. I got a lot of experience here, about 20 hours of real life racing at this track. And man, this one was just as hard as the real life stuff.
You mentioned that real life experience paying off. How much can you take from that to the sim? Obviously, the cars are very different, but this track is, I mean, they talk about all the time these iRacing laser scan tracks, as close as you can get to the real thing. How much can you take to this truck from the real world in your experience?
I mean, the turns are exactly the same, but this track is not on iRacing, not anywhere close enough to be bumpy to meet the to meet the bumps in real life here. The track in real life, you go down the front straightaway and it feels like you're on a teeter totter because the concrete slabs are uneven. So you'll have like some points like a 4 to 3 inch lip of the concrete slab sticking up that will literally like going down the front straightaway here. And then I've broken an axle here, taking a turn and hitting a pothole in the track at a wrong spot. I raced like turn 1. I went really, really low because I was 4Y going into there in real life. And you don't go that far down there. And I realized why, because they don't care about the potholes down there. I hit it and broke the axle right out of the back end of it. So yeah, no, not anywhere close. But the bumps, the turns, the bump stops and the turns there, they're real life kind of for the most part. You don't want to get on them, just like you don't want to get on them here. Just they're too high up and they just cause the car to get offset. But what they don't show you is in real life, when you go over them, they vibrate the car so much you'll break a side mirror, which I've also done here. So yeah, this track is rough in real life, real rough.
Well, it definitely sounds like a great place for your dentist. But with that being said, Gerald, before we let you go, who do you have to thank for this third place run?
Yeah, thanks to Pro Edge for showing up. Really love that they just showed up out of nowhere to race the Sebring race that I was practicing so much for. So appreciate Pro Edge jumping in and ruining my my chance at winning this race. Other than that, thanks to you guys doing a wonderful. Who? Oh, Lake Norman. Lake Norman. I'm sorry, Pro Edge. I'm just so used to blaming Pro Edge, but this time it was Lake Norman ruining the race. Yeah, it would have been even better if you guys were announcing Chad and I's battle for the lead, if it was for the lead. But no, I like to thank my team, Aggressive Eagle. Thank you guys. Thanks Sebring for being an awesome, tough place to makes men have hair on their chests type of track. This track right here will vibrate you until you knock all your fillings out. But other than that, again, thank you to guys, and tune in on Thursday nights as we do the podcast, the Simply Racing podcast that's on the truck there. We do a look back at the races on Wednesday night in the Cup Series, and we have some fun. We do marbles races. We joke around. Jeff Green was on it last week. We had record number of live viewers. So it's a trending upwards podcast that seems to be growing in a lot of popularity. We're gonna have a very fun guy joining us for the Gauntlet. If you've gotten to talk about the Gauntlet tonight at all, Zach, we're gonna have Harrison or Harry going to be joining us for the Gauntlet.
Now,
So
wait a second.
What?
Wait a second. The guy can't even drive under yellow. You're going to have him drive Nürburgring? What are you doing?
this is his chance to make redemption here. I put it up for a vote, and your name was on there. I've heard you talk multiple times here in the Truck Series that you wanted to be on. I put your names, but none of your fans showed up to vote for you. Harry was the number one.
There's a
person
shocker.
voted in.
There's a shocker. I have no fans, Gerald. I don't think you had to do a poll to figure that one out.
Well, maybe you should date Taylor Swift then. I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe. I think she's off the market, but I'll keep that in the suggestion box.
Maybe Taylor Swift's like ugly cousin or something like that. Maybe I don't know if that's going to help you, needless to say, but maybe you'll find some way to get your fans to vote for you in the next time that we host a vote for the Gauntlet. But yeah, Harry's going to be a fun one. There's not a pace car and there's not other cars to go out there and take out. We may see him truly blossom, as you say. Maybe he's more of a rally cross driver. So we'll find out with Harry. I love how I showed up for my interview and we're talking about Harry, but thank you guys.
Yeah, let's get you out of here before I vent about last Monday. Thank you, Gerald. Congratulations.
Yeah, you did get taken out Monday, didn't you?
Yeah, sure
That's
did.
your fault for
Sure
expecting Harry to not dive bomb pit road like that and taking yourself out. That's you blame you on that.
All right. That's nice. Thanks, Gerald. Bye, Gerald. Have a great
hopefully
evening,
I'll see
Gerald.
you guys. I think I took the points later. Either not, or I'm really, really close to taking the points later here in the trucks.
Actually, you might have. See, this is why I said there would be no math. Somebody did because Chase Cabry fell out. But anyway, get out here. Go.
I think I might have taken it. I'm on a roll. I hope to see you guys more.
Bye. Get out.
Bye.
Shoo. Vamos.
You got to get me. Oh.
All right. So now that we've finally gotten Gerald Campbell to stop talking, let's talk to our winner, Tyler Fody, for the 18th time in the Truck Series. Tyler, obviously, the battle was between you and Ethan tonight. Ethan went for the undercut there when it came time to make pit stops, put you into position to have to pass him. What was that mindset going through that battle and setting up the pass?
Yeah, that was a little bit more than I wanted to do with a teammate. But yeah, it got a little interesting there. Had the tires, just had to kind of find a way and a time where I could get in there pretty cleanly. I completely missed the braking zone the one time. I don't know if y'all caught it where I went off the track, but other than that, gathered it back up, and it was just really a matter of time with the tires falling off there. But happy to eventually get by him there clean and then get the victory.
Well, I do have bad news, Tyler. We did catch that, but it's okay. You eventually made the pass. You got out front. How fun is it to be able to race with a teammate like that, as hard as you were able to race each other over the course of the night?
Oh, real fun. It's actually ideal. I would love to just race the teammates 20 seconds in front of the field every week. That would be ideal, but that doesn't happen too often. So it was pretty exciting and fun to do that tonight.
So we saw you here tonight at Sebring. You've been running more often than not here in the Truck Series. Will we see you at VIR? Do we need to go ahead and break Gerald's heart that you'll be at that one as well?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be there, unfortunately, for Gerald. I normally just run the super speedways, road courses, and dirt races around here. I think the first couple, they looked a little bit more exciting for me, so that's why I ran them, but probably won't be back until VIR, and then I think the following week at Eldora. If there is another super speedway, I think there's maybe Dega. I might do that one as well.
So yeah, there is a 3-week stretch of VIR, Eldor, and Dega. Those are 3 consecutive races. So
Okay, yeah. So I'll probably do that. I did see they're doing a full distance Vegas in a couple weeks, so that's kind of up in the air. But um, other than that, it would just be the last 3 there.
before I let you go, and before we give you the floor to thank some sponsors, I do want to take make a point to mention. This isn't about you, but it's about your dad. P11 tonight for another good run for old Frank Fody.
Tell me about it, dude. Normally I can sit back and be like, we put some laps in, some practice. I was able to help everybody out. Don't forget about Caleb and Dylan, either getting top 10s in their first year. Normally I'm able to say I helped out a little bit, but unfortunately our schedules never really aligned this week, so it was kind of on all of them to figure it out. And I'm honestly really, really impressed. Caleb and Dylan getting the top 10s, and then also my dad for one being able to get around here, first of all, let alone bring it home 11th. That was pretty cool. So big shout out to those guys.
Definitely a great night for old and new faces, not to be confused with younger and older faces alike at Lake Norman tonight. Before we let you go, Tyler, who do you have to thank for this win?
Yeah, just everyone at the team there. I could not have had a fun race without Ethan there. It would have been a little bit boring. So shout out to him. Obviously Caleb, Dylan, my dad, like I said. Shout out to Mitch also. He didn't finish this one, but for the first half, it was looking pretty decent. But we're working on it. So shout out to all those guys. JD Designs, also Jonathan Cutlip for painting all of our trucks, Xfinity Cup, everything really. The guy does wonders, does everything. So shout out to him. And also you all here in the booth for doing this on your Sunday night.
All right, there you have it from Tyler Fody, your winner tonight at Sebring. Tyler, congratulations. And at the very least, we'll see you at VIR, if not before then at Vegas or somewhere else along the way.
Yeah, man. Sounds good.
So there you have it, your winner, Tyler Fody. That just about wraps up our coverage here tonight. Obviously, racing all week long here on the Elite Racing Network. Be sure to tune in to all of that throughout the week. The next time the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series will be in action will be next week, as I mentioned, Concord Speedway, very unique, half-mile, tri-oval shape, will be another incredible challenge for these drivers. I'd say be sure to be here. Unfortunately, I won't even be here. Looking forward to seeing what the broadcast looks like next week. Hopefully, I'll be able to tune in from Alabama if my real world obligations are out of the way by then. But William, any last thoughts before we go off the air here tonight?
Honestly, I'm just kind of still in awe at how Tyler Fody just kind of stomped the field today. 19 seconds ended up being the final gap between him and Ethan Stanley at the flag. Also, some great runs from some other guys. Jesse Racines, we think, will assume the points lead with a P7 finish. Obviously, Gerald Campbell, second podium in a row. Chad Frankenfield had a solid run. Leighton Norgard, after some rotten luck for in all 3 series this season, who can't catch a break, gets a 5th place finish tonight. Brilliant for him. A lot of guys, a lot of brilliant battles up and down the field. And it's only going to heat up as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. So I am one excited man.
So on that note, we bid you adieu from the virtual Sebring International Raceway. Congratulations again to Tyler Fody with the win in the Gerald's House of Bumps 100. The Elite Racing Network will see you in 1 week's time at Concord. But until then, for William White and Robert Hill punching the buttons tonight, I'm Zach Evans. Good night, take care, and we'll see you next week.